So here's our Springboard introduction for the day. In this textbook, we will explore the concept of choice and the choices people make, what influences those choices, and the consequences of those choices. We will be examining both Unit 1 and Unit 3 this trimester. So go ahead and open up your Springboard book to page 1 and read the overview of the unit with me. What story does the picture tell? What makes you say this? What do you predict you'll learn from this unit? You can see there's two paths in a wooded area. The unit overview states, this unit introduces the year-long focus on choices, using a variety of genres to investigate this theme. You will examine texts that present characters who, for personal or cultural reasons, have made choices about the way they live their lives. You'll analyze fiction and nonfiction texts and create and present original works that express the concept of choice. In creating these original texts, you'll engage in the writing process, including collaborating with your peers in writing groups. Flip the page to Springboard pages 2 and 3. We're going to preview the goals, vocabulary, and contents. The goals for this unit are to analyze genres and their organizational structures, examine the function of narrative elements, apply techniques to create coherence and sentence variety in writing, and to apply revision techniques in preparing drafts for publication. You can see that they've included academic vocabulary and literary terms, the definitions of which can be found in the back of the book in your glossary. Note that when you look at the table of contents, we're not actually going to be doing everything. We're going to finish at Embedded Assessment 1, and we're not completing pages 42 to 77, which are creating an illustrated myth at this time. Instead, this trimester, we're focusing on writing and revising a personal narrative about choice. Then flip the page and take a look at page 4. We're going to preview the learning targets, making connections, and essential questions. The learning targets say, preview the big ideas and vocabulary for the unit. Identify and summarize the knowledge and skills necessary to complete Embedded Assessment 1 successfully. And the making connections states, in this unit you'll read a variety of genres including poetry, autobiography, memoir, myth, and fable. You'll also learn more about personal narratives, and you'll write and revise one of your own. By the end of the unit, after studying myths and fables, you'll also write and illustrate a myth. Please remember that we're not doing the myth part at this time. The essential questions are, based on your current knowledge, how would you answer these questions? Number 1, how do authors use narrative elements to create a story? If you have an idea, jot that down next to the question or in the My Notes section. How do authors use narrative elements to create a story? And number 2, what are the elements of effective revision? What do you think needs to be in an effective revision? Go ahead and write your answer down next to that question or in the My Notes section. If you're not sure at this point, you should be sure by the end of our unit because we will go over those questions in detail. If you have an idea at the end of the unit, we can go back and see if your ideas match what we've learned. For now, we're going to skip the developing vocabulary and unpacking Embedded Assessment 1. We'll do that later. Let's take a look at Unit 3. Go ahead and flip to page 159. That's the beginning of Unit 3. Examine the visual prompt, and you're going to read the unit overview to yourself as I read it aloud, just like last time. So if you take a look at the picture and see the signs, it says both sports and academics are valued by society, but sports seem to get more attention. Should academic achievement be as important as or more important than athletic achievement? Can sports participation help prepare you for future success? The unit overview states, How do the choices you make now shape your future self? In this unit, you'll explore how decisions can have far-reaching consequences that determine your character, values, and contribution to society. You'll read a novel that focuses on one young man's emerging realizations about how his personal history continues to affect his relationships with his friends, teammates, family, and school. You'll analyze the choices made by different literary characters and write an essay about the consequences. Also, you'll apply your understanding of choices and consequences to a research presentation about a historical figure or world leader who made inspiring choices that help shape our world. Now, don't worry, we're not doing all of that right now, but we will get to these things later on in the year. Let's go ahead and flip to page 160, where you'll notice the contents and the goals and the literary terms. If you take a look at the goals, it says that we're going to be using textual evidence to support analysis and inferences. We'll write a literary analysis essay. We'll evaluate, analyze, and synthesize a variety of informational texts, and we'll create and present a biographical research project. We'll most likely do the very beginning of this unit, writing a literary analysis essay, and if we have time this year, we will continue to creating a biographical presentation. Flip over to page 162. Let's go over the learning targets, making connections, and essential questions. The learning targets are to preview the big ideas and vocabulary for this unit and identify and analyze the skills and knowledge needed to complete embedded assessment 1 successfully. In prior units, you've read narratives and other fictional stories, as well as articles and informational texts. Learning to write an argument gave you experience in identifying claims and using evidence from text to support a claim. In this unit, you'll read the novel Tangerine. After reading the novel, you'll write a literary analysis essay in which you analyze the novel's characters, setting, and actions and cite evidence from the novel to support your analysis. So the essential questions include: what is the relationship between choices and consequences? You'll notice you have more space to write there. What is the relationship between choices and consequences? Jot down your ideas. And then take a look at the second question. What makes a great leader? What do you think? What makes a great leader? Jot down some ideas there as well. And then just like in Unit 1, we're going to skip the vocabulary development and unpacking embedded assessment for right now. We can come back to vocabulary and our essays later. We're not going to be completing all of the activities in all of the units, but we will be analyzing literature throughout this year, and eventually we will write a literary analysis essay. Tomorrow, we will learn more about plot and the elements of literature to guide us through our reading of the novel Tangerine and our activities throughout SpringBoard with choices. So today, what are you going to do for the rest of the period? You're going to finish your iReady green reading lesson. You should have already finished your diagnostic Tuesday by the end of the day. And today, you're going to finish your iReady green reading lesson. When you're done with that, you're going to open up your iReady reflection in Otis assessments. You're going to complete your iReady reflection in Otis assessments, which asks you about both your iReady diagnostic and your iReady My Path lesson. You either had green or My Path. Remember, you were only supposed to do one, so if you did more than that, just answer a question about one of your MyPath lessons. And don't forget to press submit in Otis. This is due by the end of today. Please stay on Zoom if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can go ahead and leave the class and work on your iReady lesson and your reflection paper today. I'll see you tomorrow so we can go over plot, the elements of literature, and vocabulary in more detail.